The notification on my phone said storage full. I thought I'd see my wife folding laundry and my daughter playing with her toys. Instead, I watched 13 months of evidence that my entire marriage was a performance. My name is David Chen. I'm 35 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I discovered that the security system I installed to protect my family captured something far more dangerous than burglars. I was 7 when I learned what abandonment feels like. It was a Tuesday morning. I remember because Tuesdays were pancake days at school, and I was excited. I came downstairs in my pajamas, backpack already on my shoulders, ready to go. My mom was sitting at the kitchen table, still in yesterday's clothes, mascara streaked down her face. An envelope sat in front of her. Bills, I thought. We always had bills. "Where's Dad?" I asked. She looked at me with eyes so empty it scared me. "He's not coming back, baby." My father had walked out in the middle of the night. No warning, no goodbye, just gone. The note he left was 3 sentences long. I found it years later in my mom's drawer. "I can't do this anymore. The pressure is too much. I'm sorry." After that, it was just us. Um, my mom worked doubles at the hospital, sometimes triples during holidays. I learned to make my own breakfast, do my own homework, put myself to bed. I watched her shoulders hunch a little more each month under the weight of being both parents. By the time I was 12, I'd made a promise to myself that became my entire identity. I will never abandon my family. Whatever it takes, no matter how hard it gets, I stay. That promise shaped every choice I made for the next 23 years. It gave me purpose. It gave me pride. It also blinded me to the truth. I met Sarah in college, University of Washington, sophomore year, economics lecture. She sat 2 rows in front of me, always raising her hand, always prepared, always put together even at 8 a.m. I finally worked up the courage to talk to her after a group project. We ended up at a coffee shop that turned into dinner, that turned into walking around campus until 2 a.m. talking about everything and nothing. Sarah was different from anyone I dated. She was driven, ambitious, wanted to build something. She worked in digital marketing and was damn good at it. She talked about her career goals the way some people talk about religion, with absolute conviction. We dated for 3 years, moved in together after year 2. And on a rainy evening in Seattle, I proposed to her at the same coffee shop where we'd had our first real conversation. She said yes before I finished asking. Our wedding was small but perfect. Her family, my mom, close friends. Sarah looked stunning in a simple white dress. I remember standing at the altar thinking, this is it. This is what I've been working toward my entire life. We bought a house in Bellevue. Nothing fancy, just a 3-bedroom ranch with a yard and good schools nearby. Sarah kept working. So did I. We talked about kids constantly. "I want to be a mom," she'd say, "but I also want to keep my career. I don't want to lose myself." "You won't," I promised. "We'll figure it out together." 2 years into our marriage, Emma was born. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, with Sarah's eyes and my stubborn chin. Holding her in the hospital, I felt that same promise from childhood rise up in me again, fiercer this time. "I will never leave you. I will never let you wonder if your dad loves you." Sarah went back to work after 12 weeks. We hired a nanny, Lisa, a sweet woman in her 50s who treated Emma like her own granddaughter. Our life fell into a rhythm. I worked in commercial real estate development. Long hours, high stress, but good money. Sarah climbed the ladder at her agency. Emma thrived. From the outside, we looked like we had it all figured out. We didn't. Looking back, I can see the signs I missed. Or maybe I saw them and chose to ignore them. Sarah started working later. Big client presentation, she'd text, "Don't wait up." She'd come home at 10 p.m., sometimes 11, smelling like wine and perfume, eyes bright with something I convinced myself was just career excitement. She started going to the gym more. 5 days a week became 6, then 7. She bought new workout clothes, changed her hair, seemed lighter somehow. I thought she was just taking care of herself. I even encouraged it. "You look great, babe. Whatever you're doing is working." She'd smile and kiss my cheek. "Thanks. I feel good." Our sex life slowed down. That happens, right? Right? We had a toddler. We were both tired. We were in our 30s. Completely normal. Except it wasn't just slowing down, it was disappearing. Conversations became logistical. "Can you pick up Emma? Did you pay the electric bill? We need milk." The emotional connection I thought we had started to feel like muscle memory. We We were going through the motions because that's what you do when you're married. But I didn't see it as a crisis. I saw it as a phase. I thought, we'll reconnect, we'll plan a vacation, we'll get through this like we get through everything. I never considered that Sarah had already checked out. The break-in started in May. First, it was the Johnsons 3 houses down, smashed back window, electronics gone. Then the Patels on the corner kicked in the front door in broad daylight. Then Mrs. Rodriguez across the street. Our neighborhood Facebook group exploded. Ring doorbell videos of hooded figures, license plates, police reports. Everyone was on edge. I came home from work one day to find Sarah standing in the kitchen with her arms crossed, staring out the back window. "You okay?" I asked. "Mrs. Rodriguez called me today," she said quietly. "She was home when they broke in. She hid in her closet. They were in her house for 20 minutes, David. She was terrified." I walked over and hugged her. "It's going to be okay." "How do you know that?" "Because I'm going to make sure we're protected." That weekend, I went down a rabbit hole researching security systems. I'm not a tech guy, but I'm thorough. I compared brands, read reviews, watched installation videos. I settled on a system with 4 cameras: front door, backyard, living room, and kitchen. Nothing invasive, no bedroom cameras, no bathrooms, just the common areas where an intruder would be. I installed them on a Saturday while Sarah took Emma to her mom's house for the afternoon. It took me 6 hours, 2 trips to Home Depot, and 1 minor panic attack when I thought I'd drilled through a water pipe. By the time they got home, the system was live. Cameras recording to a local storage drive accessible through an app on my phone. I meant to tell Sarah that night. I really did. But Emma was fussy, dinner burned, and Sarah had a work call she had to take. The moment passed, then another moment passed, and another. A week went by, then 2, then a month. I convinced myself it didn't matter. The cameras were just there. Background safety. Nothing dramatic. I had no idea those cameras were about to show me a version of my wife I'd never seen before. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. I was between site visits, sitting in my truck in a Starbucks parking lot, scrolling through emails when my phone buzzed. Security system alert. Storage 95% full. Recordings will begin auto-deleting in 48 hours. I stared at the notification. I'd completely forgotten about the cameras. 13 months had passed since I'd installed them. 13 months of footage just sitting there. I tapped the app icon and logged in. The interface showed a calendar view with motion-triggered recordings highlighted in blue. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. I thought it might be nice to see what my family looked like when I wasn't home. Sarah playing with Emma. Emma learning to walk. The everyday moments I missed while working 60-hour weeks. I chose a random day from 3 months ago and hit play. For the first hour of footage, everything was exactly what I expected. Lisa, our nanny, chasing Emma around the living room, Emma laughing, throwing toys, being a toddler. Sarah coming home from work, scooping Emma up, spinning her around. Normal. Normal. Beautiful even. Then Sarah's phone rang. She answered, smiled, said something I couldn't hear, and within 5 minutes, Lisa was packing up her bag and leaving. "That's weird," I muttered. Lisa's shift didn't usually end until 5 p.m. This was 2 p.m. Sarah changed clothes, not into comfortable home clothes, into a fitted dress, fresh makeup. She checked herself in the mirror 3 times. I fast-forwarded. At 2:47 p.m., a car pulled into our driveway. A black Audi. I didn't recognize it. A man got out, tall, athletic, early 40s maybe. Button-down shirt, jeans, confident walk. Sarah opened the front door before he even knocked. They hugged. Not a friendly hug. A full body, lingered too long, this means something hug. Then they walked into my house, together. I stared at my phone screen in that Starbucks parking lot, truck engine still running, coffee getting cold in the cup holder. Who the hell is that? I should have stopped watching. I should have called Sarah right then and demanded an explanation. But something in me knew that if I confronted her without knowing the full truth, she'd lie. She'd minimize. She'd explain it away. So I kept watching. They sat on the couch, my couch, where Emma and I read books every night, and talked. Just talked at first. Laughing, her hand on his knee, his arm around her shoulders. Then he leaned in and kissed her. She kissed him back. My hands started shaking so badly I had to set the phone down. I sat there in my truck, staring at nothing, trying to process what I'd just seen. My wife, in our home, with another man, kissing him like it was the most natural thing in the world. I picked up the phone again. I switched cameras to the kitchen. Same day, 20 minutes later, they were standing close, him leaning against the counter, her between his legs, touching, laughing. They looked comfortable, familiar, like they'd done this before, many times before. I opened the calendar view and started scrolling backward, blue highlights everywhere. Days and days of motion-triggered recordings during hours when I was at work. I clicked one from 2 months earlier. Same man, same car, same routine. He'd show up around 2 or 3 p.m. Lisa would leave. They'd spend hours together. I clicked another from 4 months back. Same man. I clicked one from 8 months back. Same. Man, this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was a full-blown, sustained, ongoing affair. I pulled up a year's worth of footage. The pattern was undeniable. 2 to 3 times a week, every week, for at least the past 13 months, probably longer. While I was out working to pay for our house, our cars, our life, Sarah was inviting her lover into our home, and our daughter was there, Emma. That realization hit me like a freight train. I went back to one of the earlier clips and watched more carefully. Sarah sent Lisa home early. She did that every time. Then she'd put Emma down for a nap. But Emma was 3. She didn't always nap anymore. I switched to the hallway camera, one I'd installed to cover the back entrance. There was Sarah walking Emma down the hall to her bedroom. Emma was holding a tablet. Sarah closed the door. A few minutes later, the man walked through the front door like he owned the place. I fast-forwarded through the afternoon. 2 hours later, Emma's door finally opened. She walked out, rubbing her eyes, looking confused. Sarah was on the couch, alone now. The man had left. "Hey, baby, did you have a good nap?" Sarah's voice was cheerful, bright, like nothing had happened. My daughter had been shut in her room with an iPad while her mother had an affair 20 feet away. That's when the heartbreak turned into rage. I didn't go home that night. I called Sarah and told her I had a work emergency, that I'd be staying at a hotel near a site inspection. She didn't even sound disappointed. "Okay, Emma and I will be fine. Love you." "Love you too," I said, automatically. But I didn't mean it. Not anymore. I checked into a Holiday Inn, opened my laptop, and watched more footage. Hours of it. I watched my wife betray me in real time, over and over, in the home I'd worked myself to exhaustion to provide. By 2 a.m., I'd seen enough. I made a list of every date and time the man had been in my house. Then I compiled video clips, the arrivals, the embraces, the kisses, everything. At 8 a.m., I called a divorce attorney. His name was Richard Brennan. He came highly recommended by a colleague who'd gone through a brutal divorce 3 years earlier. I sat in his office the next morning, unshaven, running on no sleep, and showed him everything. Richard watched silently. When the footage ended, he leaned back in his chair and nodded. "This is about as clear-cut as it gets," he said. "Documented adultery, in the marital home, with your minor child present. You have grounds for fault-based divorce, and more importantly, this will matter for custody." "I want primary custody," I said. "I don't trust her with Emma anymore. Based on what I'm seeing, you have a strong case." We spent the next 2 hours going over strategy. Washington is a no-fault divorce state, but documented adultery still influences custody decisions and property division. Richard explained that we'd file for divorce, request an emergency custody evaluation, and present the footage as evidence of Sarah's compromised judgment. "One more thing," Richard said as I stood to leave. "Don't tell her you know. Not yet. Keep everything normal. We'll serve her papers once everything's filed. You don't want to give her time to spin a narrative." So I went home that night and pretended. I kissed Sarah hello. I played with Emma. I asked about Sarah's day like I always did, and she lied to my face like it was breathing. "Just meetings. Super boring. How was your site visit?" "Fine. Tedious." We ate dinner. We gave Emma a bath. We put her to bed together, reading her favorite book about a bunny who was scared of the dark. Then Sarah went to the bedroom, and I went to my office to review more footage. That became my routine for the next 2 weeks. Play the perfect husband by day, gather evidence by night. Richard filed the divorce papers on a Tuesday morning. The process server showed up at our house at 11 a.m. while I was at work. I deliberately scheduled a meeting so I wouldn't be home. Sarah called me 14 times in the span of 20 minutes. I let it ring. Finally, I answered. "David, what the hell is this?" "What's what?" A process server just handed me divorce papers. What are you doing? I kept my voice calm, detached. I'm filing for divorce, Sarah. I thought that was pretty clear from the paperwork. Why didn't you talk to me? We could have worked this out. Worked what out exactly? Whatever problem you're having. Marriage is hard, David. You don't just give up. I let her vent for a minute. Then I said the words I'd been rehearsing for 2 weeks. I know about the affair. Sarah. Silence. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. The cameras I installed 13 months ago caught everything. Every time he came over, every time you kissed him, every time you put Emma in her room so you could cheat on me in our living room. More silence. Then quietly, you recorded me? I installed security cameras to protect our family. You turned our home into a place I needed protection from. She started crying, big, heaving sobs. I'd heard Sarah cry before when her grandmother died when she had a miscarriage 2 years into our marriage, and those cried me. This cry did nothing. I'm sorry, she choked out. I'm so sorry. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to. It didn't just happen, Sarah. It happened twice a week for over a year, maybe longer. Please, please, David, don't do this. Think about Emma. I am thinking about Emma. That's why I'm doing this. She deserves better than a mother who locks her in her room to cheat. I never locked her in. I have it on video, Sarah. All of it. The call ended shortly after that. She hung up, or I did. I don't remember. The divorce process was ugly. Sarah hired an aggressive attorney who immediately tried to paint me as controlling and paranoid. They argued that I'd installed cameras without my wife's consent, that I'd violated her privacy, that the footage was inadmissible. Richard shut that down fast. Washington is a one-party consent state for recording. The cameras were in common areas of a home I owned. Everything was legal. Then Sarah's lawyer tried a different angle. I was an absent workaholic who'd neglected my wife emotionally, driving her into the arms of another man. That one stung, because parts of it were true. I had worked long hours. I had missed dinners. I had been tired and distracted. But I'd never stopped showing up. I'd never stopped trying. I'd never betrayed my vows. The custody evaluation was brutal. A court-appointed psychologist interviewed both of us, interviewed Emma, as much as you can interview a 3-year-old, reviewed the video footage, and spent weeks compiling a report. When the report came back, it was damning for Sarah. The psychologist noted concerning judgment regarding Sarah's decision to conduct an extramarital affair in the home while responsible for a minor child. The report recommended primary physical custody to me, with Sarah receiving supervised visitation until she completed parenting classes and individual therapy. The final hearing happened on a cold January morning. Sarah sat on one side of the courtroom with her lawyer. I sat on the other side with Richard. Emma wasn't there. Thank God. The judge reviewed everything. The footage, the timeline, the custody report, financial disclosures. Then he made his ruling. Primary physical custody, me. Visitation for Sarah, supervised, 2 afternoons per week, escalating to unsupervised after 6 months of consistent therapy, attendance, and parenting classes. Asset division, 60-40 in my favor due to documented adultery. Sarah would keep her car and her retirement account. I'd keep the house and primary custody of Emma. No alimony. When the gavel came down, I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow. I'd won the legal battle, but my daughter was going to grow up in a broken home, just like I did. It's been 8 months since the divorce was finalized. Emma and I live in the same house, but it's different now. Quieter, simpler. I cut my hours at work, turned down a promotion that would have meant more travel. My boss wasn't thrilled, but I didn't care. For 35 years, I'd lived in fear of becoming my father, the man who walked away. But I finally understood something. Staying in a broken situation doesn't make you a hero. It makes you a martyr. And martyrs don't raise healthy kids. The cameras are gone now. All of them. I couldn't stand looking at them anymore, knowing what they'd shown me. Emma's adjusted better than I expected. Kids are resilient in ways that break your heart. She sees Sarah twice a week now. Unsupervised visits that usually involve playgrounds and ice cream, and Sarah's desperate attempts to be fun mom. I don't badmouth Sarah to Emma. Ever. That's not my job. My job is to make sure Emma feels loved and stable, even if her family doesn't look like the picture I'd planned. Last month, Emma asked me, "Why doesn't mommy live with us anymore?" I knelt down to her eye level and said, "Mommy and daddy couldn't be married anymore, but we both love you so, so much. That will never change." "Okay," she said. Then she went back to coloring. Kids don't need perfect, they need present. If you're reading this, maybe you're in a situation like mine. Maybe you suspect something. Maybe you know something. Maybe you're trying to convince yourself you're wrong. Here's what I learned: trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't ignore the signs just because confronting them is scary. You can't control whether someone betrays you, but you can control what you do next. And most importantly, protecting your family sometimes means dismantling it, because a peaceful broken home is better than a chaotic intact one. I installed cameras to protect my family from intruders. Instead, they showed me the intruder was already inside. My marriage failed, but my promise to Emma, to never abandon her, to always show up, that promise is still alive. I'm not the man I thought I'd be at 35. I'm divorced, a single father, living a life I never planned. But when Emma runs to me after school, throws her arms around my legs, and says, "I missed you, Daddy," I know I made the right choice. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. And sometimes the security camera doesn't catch the crime, it catches the truth you were too afraid to see. If this story resonated with you, if you've been through something similar, or if you're trying to figure out what to do next, share your story in the comments. You're not alone, and sometimes just knowing that makes all the difference.